Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm not buying the Nationals. Hi, everyone. What's up?
He's not.
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah, no. I've
not what I'm reading.
3 or 4 different things, and he's not involved in any of them.
Sounds like he's not doing it. Ted, what happened? Guess he wants the O's. Maybe he wants the O's.
I don't think he has enough money for the Nats.
Well, isn't his partner like Mrs. Apple?
I mean, yeah, but
she's probably in competition with Bezos for money bags of all money bags.
She would say, "I'll buy them. I don't need you to be behind it."
She's like, "Why are you talking to them? Right. I'm talking to them."
Right. Exactly. So
okay, I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
I just want to mention very quickly, we were taping this yesterday.
Uh-huh.
I didn't assume it would actually be turned around because, well, nothing like that's happened here.
Sure.
For 3 years.
Yeah.
I was surprised last night when you were texting me saying, guess what? The show's on YouTube now.
That's right.
And there are clips that we're putting out.
Yes.
Of which, you can vouch for me. I've complained about for 3 years that stuff hasn't happened here yet.
Uh-huh.
But you know what? What's done is done. And now we're doing it now. So I'm not going to complain about the past. The future is, if you want to watch a static shot of me talking for 3 hours, you can now do that.
With some graphics.
With some graphics, that's true.
Shout out to our producer, Wardell, for that.
Yeah. The opening of it had a picture of a boat.
That's right.
Because I was on a boat. I was talking about a boat.
That's right.
So I actually liked that accoutrement, to the static shot.
We have new leadership here. Me.
That's right. Is that official? Can I congratulate you on becoming my boss?
Not quite.
Lots changed.
Not quite.
Oh, okay. Not officially?
We're still filling out some paperwork on that.
When's that going to be completed? 2026?
I don't know.
Something like that?
I don't know.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. Not sure, but I'm trying to push
or it may have happened and no one told you.
That could also be the case.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That could have happened too.
I mean, I've seen our listing, on a website somewhere. So I don't know, if they're still opening, to other people. But I'm just pushing things along. That's all.
We modernized here is my point. We had this show's on YouTube now after the fact. We're not streaming it live, which maybe one day, but I don't like that.
No, we're working on it. No.
Maybe.
No. I'm telling you.
That's happening?
We're working on it.
Okay.
We have templates up for Twitch and a few other things.
Well then. Well then.
You get to tell Archer you're on Twitch soon. I can't wait for that converation. Because I think that'll make him perk up a little bit.
Will he join the Discord to talk about what's happening on Twitch?
Don't know.
Find out.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to the Discord part of it, but
Yeah, we're going to have NFTs of the Board Bram Club. Board Bram Yacht Club.
Board Bram Yacht Club.
Do that. That'll be out there soon.
That's
so
right.
we're doing NFTs. Yeah, we should be doing that.
We're not getting into that.
Well, I might do that.
That's fine.
Why not?
You can do that.
They're not paying me anymore for any of this. I'm just talking about it.
I don't know what you want to mint and throw out there.
I got nothing to mint.
Yeah.
What do you want to mint? I don't know.
There's a lot of people that don't know what we're talking about.
I don't know what I'm talking about right now. I just know the terminology, but I don't really know what it means or what the process would be.
Right.
But anyway, no, the point is you can watch this on YouTube now.
Yes.
After the fact, but you can, or listen to it as a podcast.
Just the first hour for right now. We're not doing all the
so do all the good stuff in the first hour is what you're telling me.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, so you missed me yelling about the 90th. It's probably better off, but the 90th list.
But we got enough of it.
We got a little bit of it.
All we needed was the clip of you saying, if you people vote in RG3, you're stupid, which is what we tweeted out today. We saved that one for last, and that one got a lot of reaction out of it.
Well, I would assume it would.
So there we go.
Because I'm right. I'm right.
Someone actually tweeted back at us the note RG3 left in the locker room after he got cut, and it was like something I had completely forgotten about.
What, I hate you people?
It was like just this dumb note that just said, do everything anyway, it's not personal or something. It was really dumb, and it just made me hate him even more.
All right.
Hate RG3 more.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, well, I guess I'll do a show now, but just we're being watched. That's all. That's
right.
My point. We're being watched,
of course.
And you can watch it if you'd like to. How do you find it? Just Bram Weinstein Show.
Just type in Bram Weinstein Show on YouTube for now.
It's probably going to be tricky. We'll see, because, I own a podcasting network.
Sure.
And therefore, my name may pop up with other things. So we'll have to figure that out.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, playa.
That's right. You guys going to let me put it on my network? No, you're not going to let me do that.
I don't think we can do that.
Okay.
That's it's a cumulus thing.
Oh, okay.
All right. That being said, we've started with the show. Andy's stuff is incoming as well. So we want to do more of this day in history thing with Andy.
Okay.
We want to do something like that. So
Tony going to let you tape his show and put it on the internet?
Who? No. We're not. No. That's Tony's thing.
Got it.
We do play his podcast. He does not do a live show here.
Correct.
We are happy to play that show.
That's right. You are happy to play that show.
So, yeah.
Okay, let me get to the news.
Yeah.
This is old news. It's one of those things I missed and I wanted to talk about yesterday and just ran out of time because when you take a week off, you actually have a lot of things to talk about.
That's right.
And this is the potential next new owner of the Washington Nationals is a man by the name of Michael B. Kim, whose private equity firm manages more than $25 billion in assets.
That's right.
He is a former executive at the global investment firm, the Carlyle Group. He founded his own business, MBK Partners, 2005. And apparently he has already done the in-person meeting stuff, went down to Nationals Park. And he, according to the Washington Post, is one of maybe 5 or 6 individuals/groups that are looking to meet with the club officials and learn about what they're buying and how much the right fielder costs, and then make potentially a decision. And the way that the story's laid out, and in other things subsequently that have kind of followed up this Post report, have kind of suggested the Lerners are in no rush to do anything here. They're going to sell the team, but they don't need to or have any want or desire to do it quickly or expeditiously, which says to me, we will take the biggest price. Thank you.
Correct.
And we are not in a rush to get rid of this or flip it. And the other thing that's very newsworthy about this in the Washington Post piece, and I can't believe I didn't get to this yesterday because I talk about Ted so much, is they basically insinuated he hasn't even started the process to begin looking into becoming the majority owner or the majority leader of an investment group that would buy the Washington Nationals, which would lead you to believe he's either doing that unbelievably secretly or he's not doing it at all, which would be a surprise turn for me that Ted isn't part of the discussion to get the Nationals.
Yeah, the key here that the Post, got is that he has not signed the NDA that he would have to sign to look at their financials.
Well, but I do have a question about that.
Yeah.
Isn't he already a minority owner?
That was going to be my next question.
So doesn't he know them?
Right. Does he not have to? Does he kind of get to skip over some of this stuff because he already has an inside track?
Probably knows the vast majority of what's going on. He's probably not seeing the day-to-day, but as a minority owner, isn't he?
Yes, I thought so.
I believe he is.
I'm pretty sure he is.
If he is, then he would have access to most of this. He doesn't. Michael B. Kim doesn't live here, doesn't work here, doesn't have any association with the organization. He needs to sign an NDA to look at the books.
Or it's as simple as Ted going, "Hey, Teddy Lerner, what are the prices looking like right now?" And he's going, $4 billion. And Ted's going, "Thanks, I'm out. There's no way I'm going to be able to compete with some of these offers." I think it could be simple as that as well.
Could be.
That he's going, this is going to get a little too expensive for my taste without having to sell the other teams, and I kind of want to stick around. So
I wonder, I guess either way, Ted saying he's interested might scare off buyers because people may think fix is in. It's going to go to this guy anyway.
Maybe.
Right?
Okay.
Ted not saying anything and kind of laying low allows the process to play itself out, and he stands to benefit from the sale anyway, and the higher it goes, the better. So he might be wise in just sitting back and not declaring a thing, which he has not done.
Right.
Oddly, he hasn't said a word about any of this. Oddly, no one seems to have asked him on the record about this.
Right.
That seems like an oversight to me. If he came on this show, which lately he won't for some reason, because I love him, but if he would, we haven't really asked lately. That's true. I haven't asked lately. But if he did, I would ask him on the record.
Yeah.
Do you intend to bid to become the majority owner of the Washington Nationals or lead a group or whatever it is, but be the principal owner of the team? Just to get him on the record. And it's not like there hasn't been opportunity. He just signed Bradley Beal to all this money. Like they just had, Ovechkin was last year, so this is before the sale would have happened.
Right.
He's had some availability somewhere, right?
The last thing he did was the Beal presser.
Nobody asked him there.
Right.
I guess no one asked him.
I assume no one did. I did not tune into that.
I mean, even if the Wizards people or the basketball people who are covering it want to say, but this is about Bradley Beal and that, I would counter that with, well, if he is going to buy the Nationals, it also means he likely divests from the Wizards in the near term, and therefore it's still a basketball story for you too. So I don't know how you don't ask him that. Like, what are your intentions? Do you intend to bid? And then he'll answer it any way he wants to answer it. And if he probably doesn't, I mean, the way it's going now, he probably doesn't give a definitive answer because, interestingly, I think Ted has a very good reputation in this town.
Sure.
I don't know where you follow the Nats fan base closer than I do.
Yeah.
Do they want him to be the owner or no? Would they prefer that to happen or no?
I think the casual fan wants him because of how the Caps have been run.
And they know what they know with him.
Yes.
See, that's the one thing about in this case, often, especially when I hear it about Dan Snyder a lot, where they're like, we want to see a new owner. You don't know who the next owner is going to be.
Right.
You don't know how they're going to run the team.
Correct.
You know.
No, totally.
But in this particular case, if Ted were to own the Nationals, we got a pretty good track record of how he's going to run the team, and therefore you kind of have an understanding of how he's going to run the team.
The thing is I've had this conversation, and I just say, because we follow everything, I go, but the Wizards, you look at that track record, and it's not perfect. I would say he's probably run the Wizards to the best of his ability without acquiring a superstar, right? I think that's the takeaway I would say with that. And
I mean, he got unlucky with Wall because he got hurt right at the peak.
But did get a number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
I mean,
I still call what happened with Gilbert unlucky. I mean, it's way more about his knee injury than it is ever really about the stupid gun thing that he did.
Sure, because if he was good, they would have just...
They would have figured it out.
Yeah, right.
They would
not be on the Magic.
They would have figured it out. Everybody would have figured out a way to get through the uncomfortable portion of him not explaining very well why he did that.
Right.
You know?
So,
but because it's the knee injuries, and the knee injury was bad luck, and then mismanagement by the training staff by letting him come back way too soon. Right. They should have protected him from himself, and they didn't do that, and then boom, it spiraled out of control, and he couldn't play anymore.
Right. So that's always kind of like, I just like to drive the conversation when I talk to Nats fans about Ted to say, hey, he did great with this one team, but he also has a superstar. The other one...
Who never got hurt.
Who never got hurt.
Very lucky with that.
The longevity is literally... otherworld-like.
Considering how he plays, it's a miracle he never got hurt.
Right. And so but then you go to the other one where things haven't been. And for me, my main criticism of Ted has been his marketing of both teams and how he has marketed them and not taken advantage of one that has the superstar that I think could have honestly been, bottled up and used for 20 more years, but they haven't really done that. And then the Wizards, who I think have been, fine, but I think they could have done some things along the way. And I've just said, that's my criticism. It's not like he's terrible or anything like that. And I think Nats fans in general, though, are saying, I know that guy signs his superstars, and there's a superstar ready to be signed here. If that means Juan Soto is going to be re-signed to a long deal, I'm all for it. That's essentially what I've taken away from Nats fans.
Well, if he's willing to make Bradley Beal the highest paid player in the NBA, now topped by Lillard, but would have been, all along would have been.
For a little bit, yes.
Would have been. That he's going to be willing, I would think, to make an actual generational superstar the highest paid or close to highest paid player in the game.
Right. And so I think the sentiment...
He's done it with Ovechkin. He signs his guys. So if you are worried about Soto, I wouldn't be with him. I mean, he has shown over and over not only the willingness to retain the stars, in some cases... blind loyalty to them to the point of being detrimental to the team's potential success. But in the case of Soto, I liken him way more to Ovechkin than I do to Beal, in that he clearly is maybe the best player of the time right now. And at his age, who knows how good he's going to get. And that's the same thing we could have said about Ovechkin. Beal, I think we know what the ceiling is, which is very, very, very good. And we really, really, really like him. And they're not winning a championship with him as the number one star on the team.
That's right.
Period.
Yes, exactly.
They get Kevin Durant to show up here and play with him. I'll have a different conversation about it, you know? But I think we all know he ain't Giannis. Like, that's not happening, right?
And so I think for the Nats, though, and same thing, all I do is I drive this conversation as I say, he's loyal to his superstars, right? Well, what if Ted had owned the Nationals in 2014, 15, 16, 17? Would he have signed Ian Desmond to a large deal? Would he have signed Jordan Zimmerman to a large deal and not signed Max Scherzer? Would he have signed Rendon and Strasburg and they'd be screwed with two hurt superstars?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, but I just say, the grass is not always greener. The way the Lerners run things will be different than how Ted would run things.
Yes.
And so I think it's just, for me, it's a question of what it is. I do think, though, that whoever the new owner is going to be, I hope you're throwing money around, because that's what's exciting when a new owner comes in. And there isn't a lot of money committed to the Nats payroll outside of Strasburg and Corbin, essentially.
Strasburg, Corbin. Corbin's deal has 2 more years to go. Then that will run out.
Yep.
But at that point, a deal with Soto will have occurred.
That's right.
I think within the next 2 years,
Yes.
it will have occurred.
100%.
It's going to be the biggest contract in Major League Baseball.
Yes.
So that's going to have occurred. And then we'd have to see, whoever the new owner is, how they think about things beyond that.
That's right.
Because you don't know. And that's the thing with Ted. While I will credit him for being very loyal, specifically to homegrown players, and clearly he's also pretty darn good at picking character players, too.
I agree with that, yes.
Okay,
if there's
that's
one thing
another thing, too, here.
Yeah, I would agree on that.
Ovechkin is a generational player, and they just had to take him, and you had to hope he'd turn out to be a nice, decent person. And in general, he's turned out to be what appears to be, short of his, odd affiliations or the pretzel that he's in with Putin right now, seems to be genuinely a good person that they can rely on,
yes.
right? He's not a problem off the ice. Politically, it's a whole different conversation, and I think he's in a very difficult spot right now with all of that,
sure.
and I feel for him a little bit with the spot that he's in with all that. But Backstrom, they've done well. Mm-hmm. They went and got Oshie, good character person. Yep. They signed Carlson, good character person.
Right.
Holtby, good character person. With the Wizards in general, I think Wall got overly criticized wrongly. I think we're seeing now that, sure, he's immature at times, and he's done some things off the court that he probably wished, put your shirt on and stop flashing gang signs. But I think, largely in the grand scheme of, is he a bad dude? He's not. And I think we all know that now, right?
Yep.
Beal clearly is a very good person. He's been good at picking character people to be in general on the team. He's been good at that. He's been loyal, in some cases too loyal. Otto Porter, maybe some of the other contracts we can go through that have come around, maybe a little too loyal. That's a criticism. But those two teams work under the construct of a salary cap. We don't know how he would act without one.
That's right.
We don't know that.
That's true.
So when it comes to, I would look at him if he were the owner and say, I'm pretty confident Juan Soto, as long as he wants to be here, will stay here, because Ted's track record is to pay the money, even if it's unwise at times, to keep the guys that the fans like, that are the stars, that are the cornerstones. He ain't tanking. Right. We know that. He wants to do stuff like that, so he'll try his best to do it. Beyond that, though, does he spend in free agency? Because in baseball, you can.
Right.
And I don't know, because there is truly no real limit. Obviously, there's business limits, but there's no, we just can't do that because we only have $5 million in cap space and we can't do it.
That's right.
That's not the construct you're working under, and we don't know how Ted would operate in that situation.
Which is why I'm getting at, would he have signed all those guys the Lerners let go, and you'd be looking at a completely different team in those years that they were winning. So, I don't know.
Now, so on the news part of what the Post put in, which they made no judgment of it, they just said he hasn't done this yet, which is you have to require, the MLB apparently requires that you sign the non-disclosure agreement.
So you're not, and I get that, so you're not revealing what the franchise is spending on and all their financials. Yeah.
And it says here that Mark Lerner is a minority partner in Monumental, so he probably, maybe Ted is looking at it like, I can come in late because I kind of know what's going on here anyway. Right. It's not like I don't. I already do. I've already been vetted. I'm an owner with all these other teams. You're a minority owner here. If you went to the owners and vouched for me, I don't think the process for me to get the team wouldn't be all that hard. Why don't you tell me what the going rate's going to be? And if it's something I'm interested in, matching or topping, then I'll come in and look at it. But if this thing goes berserker and it goes to a number that's because Michael B. Kim can afford to literally do anything he wants, and he may be our, Panthers guy, or Cohen, show up and just go, I'll throw whatever it takes to get the team, and Ted says there's a bottom line for me, maybe he's waiting for that. I actually see the more I think about it, I see no purpose for him to announce an intention either way at this point. Actually, to probably lay low about it.
That's fair.
Because he could, last minute, sign an NDA. He already knows probably the majority of the information that's in those books anyway. Not everything, obviously, but probably he's got way more working knowledge than anyone else who's coming in blind to see how the thing works. He's also been a professional sports owner with multiple teams, so he knows how the business works. Baseball might be different than hockey or basketball, but the fundamental structure of the whole thing is probably very prevalent to him. He probably is, I can't imagine he's not dying to get one of these two baseball teams and flip it over to NBC Sports Washington because he's a 33% owner there, too.
Sure.
So he basically double dips on all of that stuff. So that makes sense for him to do it. Maybe he doesn't need to say anything at this point. If he says no, it's not a kind of dangling potential, real threat to some ownership group that puts a number in front of the learners. And if he says yes, it might scare off a couple people and go, fix is in. That guy's going to get it.
Right.
They're going to make sure he gets it. I'd have to put in an absurd sum to outbid him. So maybe that's what Ted is thinking here strategically. If he does want to get the team, it's probably best just to lay low, let the process play out. He can always come in late.
That's right.
And match a bid. Yeah. Always do that.
I think it's also, I think he's probably just observing this from afar. And I also think
probably.
so. It also kind of saves him. I don't think it'd be embarrassing by any means, but if he goes through the process, then all of a sudden the price of the team is way higher than everyone thinks. Because I still keep saying that getting a baseball team in the nation's capital is not a sneaky value, because I think that's kind of absurd, but it could go for a little more than people think just when you put it in those terms. A baseball team playing in Washington, D.C., I just think it might go for a little higher. Maybe he's just saving face to say, I don't want to go through all that, and then all of a sudden the price tag's a little too rich for my blood. That's where I'm kind of leaning on right now. That I agree with you. He's strategically laying low, but I also think it's because he doesn't want to embarrass himself and ends up going way too high.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't want to get outbid publicly. Maybe he doesn't want to get into if he publicly says he is interested in doing it. One, the price will either skyrocket because somebody's going to go Steve Cohen and pay whatever the number is to know that they won't match it.
Yeah.
Or it destroys the market.
Sure.
Which in his case might be good, but for the learners,
that's
isn't.
Right, and they could have said that to him.
They could have said if someone goes gangbusters, you're going to get a pay out of this thing anyway. Either way.
The other thing we have talked about is if he does get the Nationals, he would have to divest from either the Caps or the Wizards, if not both, most likely.
Oh, I think that's happening. Like I said this the moment I heard this was happening. I'm like, if he gets the Nationals, I bet within 3 to 5 years he divests out of both of those. I bet you he tries to ride out Ovechkin, and then when that's over, goodbye to the Capitals,
right.
And then. Maybe not. It might be worth it to sell the Caps while he's still skating because he's going to break a record, and the value of the team sits where it sits because of what's happening on the ice for the next couple of years. And with the Wizards, it is my understanding, without going into too much detail, that he may be divested out of it within the next 5 to 7 years anyway.
Okay.
But I don't know that for a fact, and that's why I don't want to say it. I think he may, if he gets the Nationals, I think he may sell anyway, because it feels like it's way too much on someone's plate to have all those teams.
Yeah, of course.
But it is my understanding that there's a distinct possibility that he could be bought out of the Wizards anyway.
Got it.
Now, I don't know that for sure, but that's what I've been told and can't really verify it yet.
Got it. Okay.
So, anyway.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right. So at first when I read that, I'm like, oh, he's not buying the team. And then I was like, I don't think that means anything yet. Not yet.
I think
unless this guy shows up with the numbers 2. How about if I gave you 3?
Yeah, right.
And then all of a sudden Ted's going, it's not worth that.
That's right. Exactly.
And that guy goes, it is to me.
Right. That's what I'm saying. There's a different crowd here that is going, baseball team in the nation's capital. I could do a lot of lobbying with that.
Yeah.
And Ted's not looking at it like that. He's going, I'm from here, like DC sports. I'm not looking at it like through some of these other people's lens, and that's what I really think this is going to come down to it. You're going to get somebody that we actually haven't, that isn't from the area, that's going, baseball team in Washington, D.C., I want that.
Yes, well, and that's the other part of the story that's come out here where they write 5 or 6 different groups are here. None of them have local ties. Now, they didn't name who they are because they probably don't know who they are, but they got enough information to find out that if Ted's not indeed part of it, he's the only local person that's logical at this point.
That's right.
Because apparently Jeff Bezos isn't trying to buy the team, or you would have heard that.
That's right.
And he's got the local ties. He lives here now.
Yeah.
5 or 6 non-local tied teams. Not that I'm worried about this team moving. I'm not.
Yeah, of course.
They're not going anywhere. Unlike the Orioles, I want to follow very closely who buys that team from the Angelos family because I'd be very concerned that they're going to move. I have no concern that somebody from out of town is going to come in here and buy the team, But with no local ownership, that's complicated too.
Yep.
It's very complicated when it's someone who just comes in, swoops in, has all the money in the world, and is managing it from afar or letting people manage it on their behalf. They're using it like a hedge fund. Like,
yep.
It's different feel. I think
I
local
agree.
ownership matters. It matters to them. It matters to them to stay rooted where they are.
Sure.
It matters. All right, so we'll see. All right, let me take a quick break. Bram watch the show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. All right, so news of the hour now is the game of chicken between Congress and Dan Snyder continue from the Oversight Committee to his attorney. If you'll recall, last week, through an attorney, Dan Snyder agreed to testify to the Oversight Committee that's looking into the workplace culture and already released their findings. But agreed to do so anyway.
Right.
He agreed to do so voluntarily. There was a subpoena supposedly waiting for him, but can't be served, mainly because I think he's overseas. I don't know that he is for sure. But
Or is that Twitter account that follows his boat around?
Yeah, I know. I mean, the understanding was he was overseas where he couldn't be served. I'm not accusing him of only staying there for that reason, but also a added incentive. Anyway. Let's see. So he then wrote back that he was willing to testify voluntarily, which is important to remember when I read the statement back from the committee today, because he said he would do so, and he picked 2 dates at the end of the month that happened to butt up right against the end of the session where they're going to go on a summer break. And then when they come back, the midterms are happening, and most of these people are not going to be involved in these types of committee hearings, especially non-Ukraine gas prices, whatever the, critical thing that Congress needs to be dealing with in the moment is going to be. They wrote back this: the committee accepts your offer for Mr. Snyder to testify on the subjects under investigation by the committee on July 28th, so they set a date, and will proceed with a subpoena in place to ensure that Mr. Snyder's testimony will be full and complete, of which he's not going to comply to.
Yeah. Exactly.
So as predicted yesterday, I said they're going to have to say yes to him because they can't say no. He said he was going to do it. He said he was going to do it voluntarily. They're saying we're going to subpoena you. The reason why it was beneficial for him to do it voluntarily, I need a lawyer to totally explain it because I can't explain it right, but 2 lawyers told me that the questions are different or not as wide scoped if it's not under a subpoena. And I didn't understand exactly why.
Okay.
But they basically told me it's why it's in his benefit to do this voluntarily and not be forced to do it under a subpoena. And even the committee had hinted that from the get-go when they said they wanted him to testify. They even wrote in one of their statements, it would be beneficial for you to do this voluntarily.
Right. Exactly.
So let's see. Some of the replies to Kimes' tweet about this. Snyder's attorney didn't offer to testify with subpoenas in place. If it's not voluntary, he's not doing it. I agree with that. So we'll see. Let's see. Why on the day of training camp?
Well, that writes itself.
Nolan writes, 0 chance this happens.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the game of chicken continues. And so they said yes with the caveat of subpoenaing him. I don't know how the lawyers are going to respond.
Right.
I'm going to go with it's not going to be to comply with that particular statement.
Correct, yeah. I mean...
So we got 16 more days of this. And if
Joy.
I'm them, well, they can eat a couple of days crafting their response.
That's
so
right.
they can eat out a couple of days.
Well,
We'll
they
get a
said they have
response
till
on
noon
what?
tomorrow.
Oh, that's what he gave them? Noon tomorrow to say
they have until
whether
noon
that's okay?
tomorrow to respond.
Noon tomorrow. Okay, so they put a timeline
That could
on
be
it.
a
Smart.
response of, we need 2 more days to,
Yeah.
to decide.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, well, right.
Yeah.
They could be like, we'll get back to you on Friday.
That's right.
We'll get back to you next week on
Not
that.
unlike, it was actually
Let me check his schedule. I'll get back to you on that one.
I will say this, I don't really, I'm already over the whole situation, but my favorite was when the House committee issued something to Dan Snyder on a Friday afternoon/night, then said he has until 8 o'clock Monday morning, and I thought, well, there's no business hours there,
right.
which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
We're doing this the proper way, and there was no actual, hours.
What's enlightening about it, too, is that Congress, justice system, all of that, like, it's a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
A game's being played.
Yeah, absolutely.
Both sides.
Yeah.
And they both know this game is being played.
The egos that are at play right now are just kind of unreal.
But like then I'm sitting there and the whole time I'm just kind of like, this game's being played in the light of day. Only people here care about it. Yeah. Nobody cares outside of this area.
Yeah.
And really, honestly, the only people who care in this area are the people who fetishize the idea of him not being the owner. Outside of that, like, is this going to lead Fox 5 tonight? Like, I don't know.
Doubtful.
Probably not.
Yeah, doubtful.
I mean, even here, it's not going to be that. So, they're like playing their games and sending each other statements, and he's on a yacht somewhere overseas. Who knows where? I'll check the Twitter feed to find out where he is. And they're counting down the days to a summer break, and no one's going to remember whether he testified or not, which he won't.
Right. No, exactly.
He won't. Okay, let's see. From Name Change News, Ben Roethlisberger hates the new name of the Steelers Stadium. Heinz Field has been known since, I think, the beginning of that stadium, 2001. It's been Heinz Field ever since.
Right.
So it is now going to be called Acrisure Stadium, which is a insurance company.
Oh, God.
Big Ben writes, I can't believe it. It doesn't seem right for real. Home will always be Heinz Field. I'll never forget the last game and all the amazing fans at Forever Heinz. Ben. # Forever Heinz. Then he thanks Yinzer Season for the great photos that they sent to him to accompany his tweet, basically lamenting the idea that Heinz Field is no more. He knows Heinz is a ketchup company, right?
I don't think he does.
I mean, this is the same thing that happened with LA with Staples.
Yeah.
Staples is an office supply store.
That's right.
So what? It was the name of the Lakers Stadium forever. Who cares? It's a company name. This isn't like RFK where we're like, come on, man, it's RFK. Like, if they ever built a stadium down there again and it ends up being, Auntie Annie's Pretzel Stadium, that's going to kind of suck, but all right. Whatever. It is what it is. I did read a statement from Heinz that said the cost was the rent was too damn high.
I bet it was. What they pulled. No, I bet it was. It's an NFL stadium.
They nicely said
they're a ketchup
like,
company. What are their margins looking like these days?
Well, but they, for some reason, they're still number one and undefeated for 100 plus years.
No, of course.
There's very few items that can call it undefeated. No one's topped them in ketchup. Nobody, and nobody's come close. Hunt's, no. Far second. Nobody's close to Heinz.
Don't forget last year, you probably weren't really involved in this or noticed that they tried to get rid of the artificial ketchups at Nats Park last year, and there was like a revolt from the fan base. It was, I have no problem saying it because it was gross. It was True Food ketchup.
Oh, True Food ketchup.
So no dye, no artificial sweetener.
Come on.
And it was like, everybody's like, nope, ketchup, I don't care what it is. It's a condiment. Give us the red ketchup back.
Yeah.
And it was terrible. And so they got
what's
Heinz.
The savings?
They got Heinz back this year.
Yeah.
And everybody was happy.
Well, I don't understand. What's the savings on that one? Like, who thinks that through and goes, you know what? Let's replace. Why?
It's a sponsorship. They want to be the ketchup of the stadium and then hope that you like it and then go buy a bottle and.
Nobody would replace Coke on a tap with Bubba Cola. Nobody would do that.
RC Cola, maybe. But
it's happened and it's a mistake every single time. They're hanging on by a thread.
Right.
But anyway, I don't really totally. This is the second time now that a stadium, has been named this for a long time, but that's a company that's
also.
It's not a family name. It's not honoring the Rudy family. It's a ketchup company. Like, who cares if that's on the side of the stadium? How are you that attached to it?
Yeah. Like
it's ketchup.
Like I do understand. Yeah, it sucks, but at the same time, I'm not overly, fond of it. It's not like they're knocking the stadium down.
If they changed the name of FedEx Field, I wouldn't freak out about it.
No,
they've done that here. No one was like, "It's not the Verizon Center anymore."
MCI
what
Center.
the hell?
MCI Center.
Yeah.
Man.
What the hell? What do you mean?
I will say they lost the phone.
It's a bank.
They lost the phone booth nickname. They did lose that, but
they did.
That sucked. But whatever.
When it's not named Cap one day, I'm going to be like, so it's a bank.
Yeah, whatever bank takes over, because banks always change.
Who cares? I don't. This is the second time now. This happened in LA too, where Plaschke wrote this whole thing about his life had changed because it's not called Staples Center. That's not the Rose Bowl. What are you talking about? That's an Office Depot. What are you talking about?
Right. exactly.
I'm surprised. How do people get attached? Heinz must be like, this is amazing. This is the most amazing thing they've ever had. They're like, what? We couldn't. Ben Roethlisberger, greatest or second greatest Steelers quarterback of all time, just basically said, it's a horrible thing that our ketchup isn't on the name of the stadium he played in.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
How do you get attached to that?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't.
I don't either.
It's a
no offense, FedEx. I have no attachment to that name on the side of the stadium. I don't.
Were you really broken up when Jack Kent Cooke Stadium went away?
Here's
and it became FedEx.
Here's the one I'll tell you would go the other way. If Camden Yards ever got called something Camden Yards, I'd be pissed. I would. I'd be pissed. I'd go the other way. I'd be like, how dare you? If Phillips, the seafood company, goes, we're Phillips Camden Yard. And there's a giant crab.
Oh, that's kind of...
Which is that part would be cool.
Actually,
I take it back.
Yeah, you walked into that one. Phillips is like, ooh, we're going to buy that
What
now.
if it's National Bohemian at Camden Yards? What if it's that?
It's pretty good.
With the big logo, neon, with the eyeball guy. Yeah. That'd be pretty good.
So here's the thing, though. Camden Yards and I would say Denver, the Broncos, have names that you can actually still keep classic. Like, Camden Yards is officially Oriole Park at Camden Yards. So,
I didn't realize when I went to Denver last year that they aren't in Vesco Field anymore. Right. I had to keep looking up at the side of the stadium because I was like, what are they called now? And I don't even remember now what it is. But even
so, they were like whatever field at Mile High Stadium.
Correct. At Mile High. They were always in Vesco Field at Mile High.
That's a modern thing now. So I think that's the other part of all this.
So you could do at Oriole Park at Phillips Camden Yards?
No. I was going to say Phillips Field at Camden Yards.
Phillips Field, so you take Oriole Park out.
Yeah, exactly.
Phillips Field at Camden Yards?
Because it's still Camden Yards at that point.
I do like the idea of the giant crab now that I think about it.
Big old seafood sculpture out front.
What happens when someone hits a home run? Does the crab do something?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the crab does something.
Yeah, it does.
Snaps the claws?
Yeah, snaps the claws for sure. I wish I had a camera on me for that. But
that would be pretty good. I take it back. I would probably get into that.
There's a select few you would take then for Camden Yards.
Listen, I understand the Heinz family is from Pittsburgh. I know this is a little like this is it. The Staples one baffled me when people got upset about that. I'm like, it's an office supply store on the name of the Lakers Stadium, and you're upset that it's not the name of this. Like, who cares? Who cares? This one, there is a local tie. The Heinz family is from Pittsburgh.
Right.
It's probably not unlike how we look at Old Bay. Heinz ketchup is a source of pride for the state of Pennsylvania.
Is that a local? That's a local product there. Okay. All right. I didn't.
The Heinz company comes from that region of the country, so that there's a local tie and all that stuff. Still, come on, man. It's ketchup. Like, who cares? What the Pittsburgh Steelers have nothing to do with ketchup. Who cares?
I did love Primanti Brothers did respond to one of the tweets.
Primanti Brothers.
And it was pretty good. They were like,
Primanti Brothers Field would be pretty good.
They said, we offered them unlimited sandwiches every year, but we haven't heard back
Not yet. If they put one of those giant stuffed sandwiches at the 50-yard line as the midfield logo, that'd be pretty good.
That'd be pretty good.
Don't make me, you're setting me up to say how much I hate Primanti Brothers.
Why? Do you not like Primanti? You don't like French fries on your sandwich?
I don't like everything that should be on the side to be on the sandwich at the same time. It doesn't taste good that way. And then I get the argument back who tell me, but you eat a bite of the sandwich and then you put the coleslaw and the fries in your mouth at the same time, so what's the difference? And I'm like, there is, and you know it. They shouldn't be stacked together. It's disgusting and lazy.
You and John Walton share the same sentiment.
It's disgusting and lazy. And I like Pittsburgh. Don't get me wrong. I like that town. Underrated, as you know.
Yeah, right. You wave the flag for them. Yes.
There's certain towns that I feel get a bad rap, like Milwaukee and Pittsburgh and Cleveland to a certain degree. Buffalo. I like Buffalo. Yeah. I like Buffalo a lot. Not the weather, but I like everything else.
Right.
Everything else. Anyway, come on, Ben. Really?
Well, here's the thing that I was going to say with Ben too, real quick before we take a break. Ben, you played at the stadium. How many times did you even ever hear it called Heinz Field? Right?
Right.
Like, we watch the game. We have whoever's introing the game, Nance or whoever it is, go, welcome to Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Right. And every so often coming back from breaks, whatever. If you're playing in the stadium, How often does the PA announcer say, "Welcome to Heinz Field"? Probably once, and he's probably in the locker room at the time. Why do you miss it, man? It doesn't even matter for you.
He is one of the rare few superstar Hall of Fame people who knew his last game in the NFL was going to be for the one team that he played for.
That's right. Yeah.
So he cried, remember? Came out.
Yes.
They ended up having a playoff game anyway, but he didn't know that.
That's
remember,
right.
He knew it wasn't going to be home. So he figured this is our last game. Remember, he cried in the tunnel, had a very emotional thing, walked out on the field, said a lot of thank yous, did it the whole week. I don't remember him once thanking Heinz. Did he?
No.
He thanked Tomlin. He thanked all his teammates. He thanked the city of Pittsburgh. He thanked everybody but the company Heinz.
That's
and
right.
now he's sitting there crying about Heinz ketchup? Come on, man.
I will
How
say
are you that attached to that?
I will say if Heinz doesn't release commemorative Big Ben bottles of condiments, they're dumb. But we'll see.
Oh, you can put that ketchup on that Roethlisberger.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, ding.
Yeah, you can. All right, let me take a quick break. Very much the show is at 6:30 Sports Capital. All right, so you want Malkin? It's that complicated of a question?
Yeah, that guy's
Why?
hurt a lot lately.
So are all our guys.
Oh, he's hurt often. I mean, he's still effective when he's on the ice, but this team already has a center that they're paying a bunch of money to that's probably not going to play a single game, even though they say he's going to try to play this year.
They're saying that because he's saying that, and everybody knows what the truth is on those situations.
Yeah.
They're going to have to get through this year, and then they'll have to have a long conversation with him about the future and how it would help the team if he would just retire. That's my gut on that one.
I'm with you on that. Malkin reminds me a little bit of Freddie Freeman in terms of free agency. I'd bring him here for the right price. I think his price is going to get out of hand really fast, though, because somebody's going to want him bad enough and add 3 years to whatever that term is going to be, and it's going to be a 4-year, $25 million deal or something.
Isn't he and Ovechkin buddies? Aren't they buddies?
Of course, they're Russian, man. All the Russian players, they all played together growing up and on Olympic teams and juniors and all that stuff.
Does he have the Marc-Andre Fleury, I can't put that jersey on disease?
I don't know if it's going to be that deep, but I would assume there's got to be, shades of that with him.
Have we had anybody go the other way? Because we've had who? Brooks Orpik, right?
Brooks Orpik had come over.
We had Hagelin.
Hagelin. You have Connor Sheary, who's a top 6 guy with them right now, come over.
Right.
The same thing. Those were all guys that were on their second, third, fourth team. So
we haven't. Right.
So, directly, I think Eric Fair, who used to play here, went to Pittsburgh. He came back here. Yeah, he was a fourth line guy. Not a knock on him. But, in terms of
we haven't had anybody pull that the other way. We haven't had Carlson go to free agency and say, I can't play for Pittsburgh. Correct. We haven't had that
There
one
is
yet.
one guy that comes to mind, but it is an outlier. In 2008, they traded for Matt Cook, who was the dirtiest player in the league.
Cookie.
He didn't have that rep yet with the Caps. He played here for half a season, then went to Pittsburgh. And that was the one where everybody was like, whoa, we thought this guy was gritty, not that gritty.
Yeah.
That's the only one of the modern era I can really think of off the top of my head. Brent Johnson did go from the Caps to the Penguins as a backup goaltender, but nothing.
Yeah, that's again.
Yeah, nothing too
He's
crazy.
Looking for a job.
Brent came back here to do.
No, I think I'm talking about core people.
Yeah, no,
right?
I don't think so.
Because Marc-Andre Fleury is a core person who won Stanley Cups there and went through the fights with them in the playoffs and decided he just can't put the jersey on, or at least that's what the reporting is, right?
Yeah.
He just couldn't do it. Clearly, they tried to get him.
Yeah,
he just couldn't do it.
Right.
We haven't had many of those. Well, I guess Holtby was available. Did they really need a goaltender at that point? I don't know.
I don't think they did. I mean, they were going through some things, but they had goaltenders in the system.
We traded a couple people, but we haven't had anybody pop up like this.
No.
Nobody's popped. We haven't had...
Not superstar like this. No.
Pop up on free agency.
Right. So
you think he's going to get a lot of money from somebody who's clearly going to take it?
I just think it's going to get out of hand too fast for the Caps, and they're going to go... Thanks, we already have a top. You have to remember where their money's already allocated. They already have so much invested in the top 6. So
they have to get a goaltender now, and clearly they're going to spend a lot of money on it.
Right.
So all right, maybe now that this happened, because it happened late yesterday, they traded Vanacek over the weekend with the draft or before the draft, right?
Yep.
And then yesterday, they decided they're not going to do a qualifying offer to Samsonov, of which in most cases I would go, I agree with them based on what the history has been the last couple of years. He's either been unreliable or shaky at best and net, so much so that what looks to be a career backup took his job from him and was their best option in a lot of ways, and that's not good for a team that's supposedly squeezing out the lemon to try to win a cup. But they also don't have anybody else, which makes it odd that they made that decision. So they must have a plan. I'd like to hear you tell me what that plan is, because I'm certain somebody will play goal for them, but I don't know who.
So my reaction was correct yesterday. After we went off the air, I saw a tweet from Samantha Pella and Tarek, and they had clearly gotten their source from the same person, that in arbitration, Ilya Samsonov was going to demand $3 to $3.5 million. And what I told you is the reason why he was actually going to get a lot in arbitration is because he had a lot of wins last year. His GAA wasn't terrible, but we also know how terrible he was at times for them.
Right, and arbitration doesn't really take much into context.
It just looks at your numbers.
It looks at numbers.
And so his numbers actually looked good enough that he was going to get $3 to $3.5 million.
This happens in baseball all the time. Some of these guys go to arbitration. They know they're going to get. That's why some of these teams try to get ahead of it, because they know the numbers not going to be pretty, even if they don't really play to that level.
Exactly.
Right?
So they looked at it and went, we're not paying him that much, especially if he's going to be a backup here. Because you would think they already traded one. They're not just going to sign a veteran backup. You might as well go all in and get a new starting goaltender. So I think all signs point to Kemper out of Colorado. They already traded for a goalie. They're not going to keep him. He won a cup with them last year. They just need a veteran presence that they know what they're getting every night. Because I think that's actually the most maddening thing about both of these guys, about Vanacek and Samsonov, is you did not know what you're going to get night in and night out. They each would go on, warm streaks. I wouldn't even call them hot streaks. Yeah. Warm streaks where they were just not throwing up all over themselves. The Caps, I think, are going, this was a nice experiment. We need to get that number 8 guy another cup, though. We don't have time to wait around for you to figure it out. We're going to sign the best veteran out there. And I think Kemper is either he just turned 30 or he's about to turn 30. So he's up there in age in terms of what you're going to have to give him. But I have a feeling
that's experience, so it's good.
I have a feeling that's who they're going to go after. And don't get me wrong, Kemper was good in the playoffs, not great, but he didn't really throw up all over himself as much as the other two did. He was also the one thing that concerns me, if this is who they're going to get, is he had the best defenseman in the league in front of him in Cale Makar. So that worries me a little bit, because John Carlson is not the best defenseman in the league, especially in the playoffs. But I will say it's more of a veteran presence.
I need to talk to somebody like I'll ask you, but I don't want to put you on the spot. Does someone have 2 good goaltenders that we're not thinking about that they're going to trade to get?
You could look at Minnesota now, because they did sign Fleury to a 2-year deal, and I forget who was starting there before Fleury. His name is escaping me, but there might be a situation where that guy gets mad that Fleury is around.
And I pointed out because, one, most teams don't leave themselves in this hole like this, where you traded Vanacek preemptively and then let go of Samsonov. You don't even have a backup right now, right?
Right.
And if you're sitting there telling yourself, well, we're going to land this free agent, you better know that.
Right.
You better know that,
That's
right?
Correct, yeah.
So that tells me that maybe they know that, or maybe there's a trade coming that's going to involve one of their veterans going to get a veteran goaltender back from a goaltending-heavy team.
Possibly.
Right? And then, because they got to make room for younger guys on the roster anyway.
That's right.
So we may be surprised by someone who's making decent money.
Cam Talbot is the name.
Cam Talbot?
He's the one that's in Minnesota.
Okay.
And here's the thing, though. I don't know the dynamic between him and Fleury, because Fleury was like, I'm happy to be a backup. I don't want to get a full load. But you sign that guy to a 2-year deal, you think he's going to get majority of the work. And maybe
shut up.
And maybe,
you signed the contract, buddy. We'll play as much as we're going to play.
Right, but what I would say is maybe Talbot's going, I thought this was my team. And maybe Talbot says, get me to a team where I know I'm the number one. So
they've sprinkled out there, and I think overdue sprinkled. We're going to make some changes. Yeah. There are some young people that are going to come up, as you've talked about a lot, and they're going to play where? Because everything seems to be log jammed, and it's been that way for a couple of years. Even if I think against their better judgment, they needed to get some younger legs up here quicker, and it just hasn't happened. Well, this is a way to do that. You have a massive hole. You need to get an established veteran. I have a hard time buying that they're just looking at free agency going, we're certain we're going to get somebody. I think there's a trade coming.
Okay.
That's what I think. Right. I think, and I don't know who.
Yeah.
It's not Ovechkin. It's not Oshie. It's not Backstrom. It's somebody, though. I bet you somebody who's got a pretty decent salary is going to get moved for a goaltender. That's what I think. And it's going to open up, and secondarily, it's going to open up a hole for them to bring up another one of these young guys to let them play.
My only argument against that, though, is last week leading up to the draft and on draft day and even the day after the draft, a bunch of teams made goaltending moves that if they had a guy walking, you traded for someone before.
Maybe they missed. Maybe they missed last week.
Like the Maple Leafs,
well, this doesn't make any sense if they don't have something lined up, because if they missed the boat on that and made these moves and they're going to come back with even less experienced people than these guys, you're going to be like, what are you doing?
Right. I would, if it's a botch on their part, there's no excuse, especially after you lost 2 goaltenders again. That would be...
Well, you didn't have to trade Vanacek.
Right.
They did trade him. They didn't have to do it.
No, exactly. So like the example I'll use is Jack Campbell was the Maple Leaf starting goaltender. The Maple Leafs traded for a starting goaltender leading up to the draft. Campbell's going to hit free agency tomorrow. Like, all those moves happen. Like Colorado did the same thing. They knew Kemper's going to be gone, so they traded for somebody. I forgot. The names are escaping me right now. But everyone seemed to get their contingency plans correct, except the Caps, where they didn't trade for anybody, and they not only traded their backup, they just are going to let their other one walk. So I think the other
this feels a little sharks with laser beams attached to their heads. I just want some sharks with laser beams attached to their heads.
I would say this, and I said this yesterday, and let's just see how it plays out. If the market isn't there for Samsonov, I could see them bringing him back at the right price. I think.
If he wants to.
Right.
Now that he's available, he may be like, forget that place.
The Caps might go, though. Hey, we don't think you're worth that much. Go on the open market, and if someone gives you a contract, let us know what you're getting.
I smell a trade coming.
Okay, fair enough.
For like a prominent veteran.
Okay.
I smell a trade. All right, let's take a quick break. Bray wants to show you Spin 630 Sports Capital. Show you Spin 630 Sports Capital. Show you Spin 630 Sports Capital. Show you Spin 630.